Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We are here to Fuel Rockets News. It's the Rockets Fuel podcast presented by the Believe Network and sponsored by Bet Online. Of course, I am your host, LaShar Binkley. You can always find me on Twitter at Binkley Hoops. And you can find my written work over at Rockets on SI, part of Sports Illustrated. And on today's show, we're going to be giving you a quick recap of the Houston Rockets' first day at training camp. They're, of course, practicing at their new 75,000 square foot training facility right here in Houston. So I just want to give a quick recap of what I saw out at training camp today. Of course, the Rockets had their media day yesterday. We were able to talk to Udoka, Rafael Stone, and 14 of the current Rockets on the roster. So we pretty much got to talk to the majority of everybody, including all the main guys that will be in the rotation this upcoming season. Just real quickly, kind of the highlights for me were talking with Steven Adams, had that funny interaction with him about screen assist. He's definitely going to be one of these standouts on the court and off the court when it comes to interviews. So that was definitely a good talking with Steven Adams for the first time. And also we heard from players like Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green and Jabari Smith. The things that stuck out to me about Jabari Smith was he was talking about what he wanted to accomplish this season, things he wanted to do more of this season, like being able to be in the paint more, operating in the post, driving more, and not settling for outside shots. He wants to be able to get into paint, and he feel like that'll help open up things for his teammates. And he also talk about he was getting stronger, so that's another thing that will help him when he's getting down in the paint, going up against bigger guys. So that was a quick thing that stuck out to me about Jabari Smith, and of course Reed Sheppard. That he was kind of the name that was mentioned a lot by other players, where it's talking about his high basketball IQ and how far ahead he is already at age 19. Fred VanVleet went so far to even say, hey, I believe that he's even when I was 19, I was not where he is right now. So he was far ahead of where I was when I was at 19 years old. And that was kind of a sentiment that was, said about a lot of the players, that they just, not surprised, but it definitely stands out how far along he already is, his high basketball IQ, that he already seems to, fit in well with the team, even though he is a rookie and he just got there. So that's definitely another thing that stood out to me. We also talked with alperensengun, and one of the main things that I got from that was someone asked him about contract extensions. Jalen Green, really didn't talk about it. He said he's not focused on it, but Alperen said that they have been some talks about a contract extension. And then, of course, we also got the report today from Jonathan Fagan saying that it's likely that they'll be able to work out some type of contract extension with alperensengun. Because the deadline is coming up here in the next few weeks as far as getting a deal done, as soon as possible. So that's another thing that stand out about that. But again, I also wanted to kind of give you a quick recap of today's training camp. Today we were able to talk to Udoka, who of course we were able to talk to every day during training camp, but also Reed Sheppard. Usually we'll get 2 to 3 players, but because we had talked to basically everybody yesterday during media day, today it was just Reed Sheppard. So we were able to talk to both of them, and Ime was up first. And this was a question I had asked him because during media day, a lot of talk was about the Rockets' depth and how many good players they have on the roster. We heard Timlin talk about it during the grand opening of the training facility, saying the Rockets have the deepest team in the league. Rockets bench production was like top 5 in the league last season when it comes to points scored per game for the bench. So the Rockets have a really deep team. So I wanted to ask MA, how much will training camp and preseason determine what they will be doing as far as who will be getting minutes and who will be in the main rotation? And this is what he said.
Both. I think we have a unique schedule as far as the 2 games in 3 days, and then a week off to kind of reevaluate things, and 2 games in 3 days to end it. So it'll be a little bit of both, where we just look at different lineups and those things early, have the week to reassess, and then kind of zero in on what we want to do in the last 2 games.
As you see, he kind of pointed out that it's a little bit of both, which almost leads me to believe that they already kind of have, which is not surprising, they kind of have who they figure is going to be in the rotation. Because you got to remember, Rockets were struggling with giving out minutes last season. That was before Tari Eason. That's with Tari Eason being out for majority of the year. Now you also add in Reed Sheppard. You added Steven Adams, even though he'll probably take more of what Jock Landale had last season. But I mean, you're adding in, a few players there when minutes were already tight. So it's going to be a battle, like they were talking about yesterday. It's going to be a battle for minutes. And a player that we rarely even talk about, Jay Sean Tate mentioned that as well. That it's going to be, everybody's a competitor, and they're going to be going all at it as far as minutes are concerned. So you heard right there, he said a little bit of both, and he was talking about kind of the uniqueness of their preseason schedule, where they play, back-to-back games against San Antonio, then they have some time off. And he was saying that really more towards the end of preseason is when they're really kind of zeroing in on what their rotation is going to be to start the season. So even though all this kind of factors into a training camp preseason, it's really going to come down to what we see on the court during preseason, especially the last couple of games of the year or preseason. So that was definitely something interesting from MA. He also talked about, during his interview, he was just talking about Reed Sheppard and how he was fitting in. He also talked about, because they had a very long film session today, like 45 minutes. So they were going over a lot of what worked last year, what didn't work last year, what they want to improve on this year. Another thing, MA said that last year, of course, coming in with a brand new team, several new players, that he kind of slowly worked in more of what he wanted the Rockets to be. It was kind of more of a simplified plan at the beginning of the year because he was kind of working in everybody. But now he'll be able to get in more advanced stuff earlier on this season. So that's another thing that kind of just stuck out to me. Like, okay, you're going to see a lot more advanced sets on offense and defense earlier in the season than you did last season. So he talked a little bit about that. And of course, he just talked about some of the things that they went over in first day of training camp. Of course, the first day is always going to be probably more of more film work and less on-court work. Like I said, we got in towards the end of practice. So we didn't see, pretty much any of the scrimmages. We saw mainly of them, shooting around, getting up free throws. I saw, was able to see Thon Maker for the first time. He was out on the court getting up shots. So that's pretty much what we saw a lot of. But like I said, those few things kind of stuck out to me when MA was up doing his interview talking about the first day of training camp. And we also were able to talk to Reed Sheppard. And Reed was just talking about, being out there the first day. He was talking about working, with the team and how, he's already kind of been working on the court, of course, the previous few weeks. So it wasn't a huge difference because he's already been practicing with the team here for a while and practicing on this very court, two different courts at a training facility. But he just talked about, being able to be out there with the guys, and how Fred VanVleet was like one of the main guys that was vocal with him, trying to, get him up to speed, and that he's been working a lot, of course, with Fred, because more than likely Reed will play a lot of that backup point guard position. So they have, a lot that Fred can, tell him and get across to him, some of the things that he's been throughout his career with him being a veteran in the league. But one thing that really stood out to me was Reed was talking about being a rookie in the league and kind of talking about, having to earn what you get and nothing's going to be given to you. And here was Reed Sheppard.
It's not going to be given to you. You have to earn it no matter what, and come in not expecting anything. Just come in, be willing to do whatever it takes to get on the court and help the team win.
And that's good to hear, because we also heard Reed, talk about yesterday, like, hey, I'm a rookie. Of course, I want to be on the court, but if I have to be on the bench clapping my hands and cheering for my teammates, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help my team. And that's a good thing to hear from rookies. You don't always hear that from some rookies. Some rookies are expecting that they're going to be in a rotation from day one, especially if they're a high draft pick like Reed is. They expect to be out there getting playing time regardless the fact that they're a rookie. But Reed understands, especially on a team that 41-41 last season is trying to get to the playoffs this year. This isn't a rebuilding team like the Rockets have been in previous seasons. So it's good to hear him say that, hey, he knows that he has to earn it, that playing time is just not going to be given to him, that he has to go out there and do whatever it takes and what the coaches want him to do to be able to get on the court. So that was definitely something that stood out to me while we were talking to Reed today, is that, he has that attitude of, hey, I know I'm a high draft pick, but I got to do what the coaches want me to do, and I have to put in the work to be able to get out on the court. Because like I was just saying, playing time is going to be at a premium this year, because outside of starters, and probably outside of players like maybe Tari Eason and Steven Adams. I don't know how much more minutes are going to be guaranteed, even for players like Cam Whitmore, who, of course, had a really good rookie season. Just so many good players on the team this year that the Rockets can go pretty deep into the roster before you get to a player who, like, okay, they wouldn't play on another team. They have a really deep team this year, so it's gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out this training camp, especially in preseason, when it comes to how minutes are handed out. Of course, throughout the year you have injuries, so that makes it a little bit easier as far as the minutes. But definitely at the beginning of the year, where everybody's healthy, it's going to be interesting to see how those minutes are distributed outside of the main core players, especially the starters, to see who's going to be playing and who's not going to be playing. Like I said, that was pretty much what we saw in day one training camp. Day two, I have a feeling we'll be able to talk to more players, maybe even see some of the scrimmages out on the court, to see how exactly all that's working out. Like I said today, the interesting thing, at least we were able to see when we were out there, was Thon Maker getting up shots. Man was practicing some free throws. You can see all this footage on the YouTube page. I have it up on there. So definitely check that out. But that's just some of the kind of interesting things we saw. And I'll definitely be out at training camp again tomorrow. Let me know down in the comments. What do you think of Media Day? Some of the interviews that were out there, anything that stood out to you. Let me know how you feeling so far. You're getting even more excited for the season as training camp is getting underway. So definitely let me know down in the comments. And make sure if you're not subscribed to the channel, because throughout the entire season, we're going to be having a lot of the pre and post game interviews, practices, and throughout this entire week, we're going to be doing podcasts. Vader's going to join me tomorrow, talking about day 2 of training camp. So make sure, if you're not subscribed, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. Make sure you give the video a like, because as usual, that helps with the algorithm. And as usual, we appreciate all the support. And make sure you check out the next episode of the Rocket Fuel Podcast.